tattoos. Talk when I love squad members, I can't act cool. Hey, young, this your beat? Nothing lasts forever, I don't got tattoos. I lost squad members, I can't act cool. I like my bitches short and thick and I ain't gotta act rude. She won't treat me like I'm the rest, cause I ain't that dude. I see some things as a child and change my thoughts forever. Try to do right, I'm on their ass and I won't fucking let them. Hit from the side, just don't be lazy, lift your fucking leg up. To all my niggas going through a struggle, keep your fucking head up. Anything you going through, I'm a witness, it won't last forever. Just stay down and hold your side, don't change up like the weather. If he around me, then he got a ruler, but he ain't trying to measure. I gotta inhale me some weed to get my thoughts together. Hard in the summer, but my heart cold, so I gotta rock a sweater. We came in this roll alone, so we ain't gon' leave out together. I know I'm blessed, I know my worth, so I can never settle. You can't show yourself before you only time can tell. Fuck yeah, get one time to fuck up, then you can't go here. Whoa dear, I got too many stuff to bring a pole here. No deal, I won't set my soul ain't high and go here. I won't school and stay loyal to my niggas and my bitch, they to the cold here. It's a new 40 on my hood, the bitch to blow here. It's a different dope inside the blunt, we getting lows in. Smoking on some dope cause the country got a joke in. Treat the bitch like a receiver, put the bitch in motion. I'm drinking on some shit that change the mood, we call it potion. Can't even hide the 30 in the clip, it be poking. And up all them beans, we got some smooth and get it going. White girl playing with her no lens and no hand. My little cousin slipped up and lost a baby, she was 16. Ain't doing shit for free, I want 200 for a 16. Glock with a D and 30 clip with a red beam. She make it hard for me cause all that nigga sold a big dream. Don't lose no thug behind no shit you saying that you ain't me. All my niggas slide, you know what's up, bitch, you can't play me. I see the picture clear, my life a movie like it's HD. I'm on 50K screens and I ain't got no post on say cheese. Light a little whip and when I up it better say cheese. This life taught me some lessons, fuck the school, I want a degree. I'm just trying to take care of my people, how you hate me. When I got caught with that elite, the shit was crazy. Bitch, the trap baby shit don't do that.
Hey, what's good, everybody? I want to thank you guys for joining us for episode number 54 of the Get Hook podcast. As always, this is your boy Hook.
And his also always on time bestie, Crystal.
No comment. No, listen, I'm not choosing violence today, so I'm gonna leave it alone. All right, so today, man, we're gonna be talking about how relationships benefit from knowing your partner's love language. I think for the most part, a lot of us think that the key to any healthy relationship is going to be understanding how best to express your love to your partner. And I think it's also widely believed that everyone has a predisposition to, and they identify more heavily with one of the 5 love languages. And hopefully I'm not teaching you anything you don't already know, but just in case, the 5 love languages are words of affirmation, quality time, physical touch, acts of service, and receiving gifts. And hopefully that's not new to anybody watching. And one thing we're going to get into today is how not knowing your partner's love language can have an adverse effect on the relationship, or will it have an adverse effect? So, we're definitely going to discuss it. So, Chris, what are your thoughts? What say you?
So, if this is your first time hearing it, I'm not going to knock you because now you know. The other thing is there are some of us who have heard it, seen the book, everything, and we still may not know. So, it is important to know. I've always said, growing up, life taught me that we tend to love people the way we want to be loved instead of loving people the way they want to be loved. I may like quality time, but someone else may like physical touch. I can't not touch you because I would prefer to sit beside you and look in your face all day long. Troy and I had this conversation last time we were talking, and we had a conversation about relationships. Women like to do stuff and put candles and have romantic stuff, and all he wanted was a beer in a moment. We tend to treat men like women, and then men treat us like men, and everybody mad. So the love language conversation is really good to know, and it's really good to grow in a relationship with if you want it to be happy and healthy.
Absolutely, and I think this is going to be a very intriguing, a very great conversation to have. So I want our guests to go ahead and introduce themselves. So if you guys want to go ahead and tell everybody who you are, take it away.
Yeah. Hello. I am Miss Hicks. So since we're talking about the love languages, I'm going to go with Miss Hicks today because I am happily married. I have been married for 11 years. And this is near and dear to my heart because my husband and I, when we first got married, read the book and figured out what our love languages were. Because I think, you have that kind of honeymoon kind of phase and you want to do everything right. And so for me, it was important for us to kind of understand what that meant. But we have 4 children. 3, 5, 7, and 9.
Good child.
And pray for me.
Talking.
Yeah, pray for me. But I am a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. I am a HR professional, and I graduated from North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University. Aggie Pride. Let me put that on out there.
We gotta talk.
Okay, we can.
My
talk.
daughter want to go. We gonna.
Oh. Tell her that's a great choice. Great choice. But I'm ready, to have the conversation today because I really feel like we can help some people. And, like you said earlier, people are instead of trying to love somebody like they want to be loved instead of understanding how that person needs to be loved. And I think that's important because I think once you break that down and you understand, it's not that hard. But it's just the fact that until you're educated and you understand that, then when you know better, you do better, basically. Absolutely. Like people say. So I think that, this is a great conversation. I know it's a lot of single people out there. And so before you jump in, this is something that if you can take heed to it and understand it, I think it will help to lengthen your relationship.
Absolutely.
That's me.
Welcome.
Hey, so listen, thanks for having me, Crystal Hook. I appreciate it. It's good to be on here. So listen, I'm Troy Spry. I'm a certified life and relationship coach. I'm a speaker and I'm an author of the book, Teach Me How to Love While What You Don't Know Will Hurt You. What I always say I do is I help people get out of their own way in life and in love. So that's my goal. The mission is simple: better people, better mates, better relationships, better communities. So that's what I believe in. I'm a husband. I'm a father of 1 little one. I don't quite have 4. I got 1 that's 5 and she's wearing me out all the time. So that's who I am in a nutshell. I've been married 9 years now. I've been with my wife now 15, I think total. Yeah. So it's been a minute, and the love languages have definitely played a huge role in our marriage. And I will tell you, I'm sure we'll get to the conversation, but they evolve over time. So I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Oh, absolutely. Tricia, Troy, thank you guys for agreeing to come on. So let's go ahead and get this thing cracking, man. So I want to start with a very basic question for you guys, and Chris, I want to hear from you as well. And it's really a 2-parter. First, do you know your respective love languages, and what are they?
So I can jump in. Definitely. I know mine. And it's funny because my husband and I were just talking about it the other day because I was telling him I was going to be up here. We're going to be talking about it. So they have changed. So I can say before, when we first did it and when we first got married, it was words of affirmation, and following right behind that was quality time. So now when we redid the test, maybe a year ago, and it ended up being acts of service and receiving gifts. And so I kind of equated that to the fact that, being a mom. And so acts of service really stick out to me because, you helping around the house and just doing something without me asking, I can understand why now that's so valuable to me. And so when I was answering the questions and then it came out that way, I was like, oh, because, that's something that I didn't have to ask you to do, whether you did the laundry or those types of things, that means a lot to me. And then, the other side of that with the receiving gifts, I never was that type of person that wanted anybody to give me gifts or anything like that. But I think, again, I equate it to being a parent. A lot of time, all your money goes to your children. So when you have somebody that, you know, unselfishly gives you a gift and they thought of you or gave you something without you having to ask for it, that is something that I really value now, because I rarely spend a lot of money on myself. So those are mine now, and I understand exactly why they're that way.
Okay.
For sure.
I grew up in a household where we never said I love you. I love you. And my household growing up was, y'all hungry? What y'all need? I got y'all these shoes that you didn't ask for. You might not like them, but I bought them. So as I got older, that's how I showed love, taking care of people. I realized that my love language was quality time, because in that quality time, if you're spending time and it's real quality time, you're going to get words of affirmation. You're going to get acts of service. And it could be something simple as, oh, I'll handle that for you. Or I hear the need, that kind of thing. It's like a win-win-win in that moment if you're doing it right. Now, if y'all in there and both of y'all on your phones, you ain't going to get that time. But if you got real quality time, you really do get it's like a 3-in-1. And that's big to me, because time is valuable. You can't get it back. Once it's gone, it's gone. So if someone takes something they can never give back and they give it to you, that's huge to me. Quality time is definitely my biggest one. I'm a little bit of all of them, because I'm like her. I spend all my stuff on my kids. I like surprises because you don't surprise yourself. By the time you finish, your card be like, no, you got $26.13. It's like, oh, well, y'all shoes cute. Go buy your business.
Man.
So it is good.
I'll jump in there. So for me, early on in my kind of like my career and my marriage, it was more so words of affirmation and acts of service, because I was trying to build a business and I needed that support. So I needed my wife to be able to be there to do things for me to help kind of relieve some stress. And so that was then words of affirmation was just giving me that confidence, right, that I could do what I was setting out to do. And it was those, those compliments, reinforcing those things. Now that I'm at a different place in life, mine are now, it's still words of affirmation. So I still like to hear I'm good. You know what I mean? But the other one is physical touch, right? Well, I want to be touched. I want to hug. I want to cuddle. I want to have a lot of sex, all that stuff. So it's like, physical touch has definitely become more of a thing for me now. So, I mean, to me, the fact that we were able to evolve into that though, and start kind of checking in enough to understand each other, to know what you need during what season, that's what's been good for us.
Troy, it's funny you say that about physical touch. And I say that because as women, I can say life lessons have taught me that that's a lot more important than we remember. I don't hear a lot of women say my love language is physical touch, but I hear a lot of men say it. And I realize that it's not that, I mean, of course people love sex, but if you don't touch me, so some people it's like you don't love me because you don't want me. So it is something to touch someone, to hug them, to rub up on them, it's okay. And I don't know where, I know for that first I got 3, so I can't talk about you and your foe, right? Because I
right behind you.
I had whole seasons, but my kids, after having the babies, you were like, listen, we got babies, we got stress, we got school. There was so much going on. It don't make me feel love that you touch me. Move.
Yeah.
Don't know that every time you touch me, I keep getting kids.
Oh man.
It does. You do when you can't have no more. You do feel like, yeah, that touch, that feel, that it's a different thing. So I think, I don't know how many women don't, but I know a lot of women, when life is stressful, touching is like, listen, my head's all over the place. I can't even enjoy being touched. But it is important for a lot of men. And I think we need to pay attention to that, because I don't think a lot of us realize that. That was probably one of my biggest pet peeves then, is like, why somebody got to touch you all the time? Well, because
let me tell you something, Crystal. If you're talking top 3 complaints I hear from men in marriage, it's not feeling desired and touched, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of that's because of this, because most women think that that means it's always got to lead to sex, right?
Yeah.
I think what's underneath a lot of it is men want to feel connected. And a lot of times the only way we really know how to feel connected is through touch, right? And then I think the other side of it though is we don't have a lot of spaces where touch is a thing, right? You don't go around touching your homeboys, you know what I mean? You don't do that kind of stuff. So it's like the only space you have to feel softness like that is usually with your woman. And so a lot of times we desire it, we crave it, but it's not necessarily seen that way from the woman. And so she thinks you just a horn dog trying to have sex all the time. You know what I mean? The disconnect is real. So I'm glad you said that.
And I was going to say, I mean, for women, it's hard too, because like Chris said, I mean, we're always being touched. Like if you have kids, like you constantly have somebody on you. So for us, I think that's a lot of times why that's not our love language, because it's a constant in our life. But I think for men, it is another level of vulnerability as well, because, you know, my husband, because that's his love language, physical touch. So I have to step outside of myself and what I like and what I don't like, and understanding that that's how he feels love. So, you know, whether I rub his head, rub his back, hold his hand, you know, those are things that are not sexual, but I mean, he happy as he can be, you know, just doing that with me. And that makes him feel, you know, comfortable, and, you know, he feels good. And I get that, you know, I understand that. So with that, the fact that that's not how I like to be loved per se, it is another level of not being selfish and understanding that that part is not about you. It's about your spouse and your significant other and what they need from you.
And that's kind of where I said I learned the older you get, the wiser you get. And one of the things I realized was many of us love people the way we want to be loved. So I may want you to spend time with me. So I'm like, well, let's just sit here and look at the wall all day. And he's like, yeah, but I want you to touch me. And I'm like, but like she said too, you know, when you're having kids, when you're young, when you not even young, but when all the life changes are hitting you, you're running around, you got babies climbing all over you. Don't touch me. And it can be a lot, but you're not thinking that. So women like attention. If a woman tell you she don't like attention, she a damn lie. Women like attention. We prefer the attention from the people we like, because when we like you and you give us attention, we call it flirting. When we don't like you, we call it stalking. Remember that. So when we get the attention, we feel desired, we feel wanted, we feel sexy, we feel confident. Men are like that about touch. So if you don't, you know, you got to give what you get. It's kind of like, I'm going to love you the way you want to be loved. You love me the way I want to be loved, because I'm going to show you in your language I want you. And then we're solid. And that was something that, listen, I was 3 kids in the game before I caught that lesson. I don't know how I got them 3 kids. I was playing Uno, but I learned that lesson after them.
I think the major thing is women think they know men because you hear all the time that all men are the same, but that couldn't be the furthest thing from the truth. You know, because we love physical touch, we love being touched, we love, like y'all mentioned earlier, that women want to feel desired. We want the same shit. You know, we want to understand. Like, you think, you know, if somebody, you know, jumps in my DM and I post a picture and they're like, "Hey, you look good today," that is a major boost to your ego. You're like, okay, you know, a nigga still got it. You know what I mean? But and that's why it's important to know you love their love language, because a lot of women think that men don't want to hear that. For some men, they do. Like for me, my love language is words of affirmation. You know, like I'm not really into. I mean, if you get me a gift or if you do stuff for me, I'm appreciative of it. But if you don't tell me you love me, if you don't tell me you find me attractive, if you don't tell me these things, I'm just going to automatically assume that you don't feel that way. And I'm not going to feel desired, because I need to hear those things. And we talked about like the background and the way our family was raised. I come from a huge family. My family is very loving. I know they love me. But we don't say I love you a lot.
We don't say that.
Not in my mama's
relationships. I'm gonna be better with that.
In this household, we say it all the time. I constantly tell my girls I love you. I tell my fiance I love you. But like, you know, growing up, like I could probably count on one hand how many times my mom said,
"I agree."
I know she loves me, but I just don't hear it that often. And so that's why now when people tell me, it's like, I'm so appreciative. That's my love language. But and it does have a major impact on you, because knowing that's my love language now, imagine me not really, getting that when I'm younger. So I was deprived of that. So not only in relationships, but you got to know your kids' love languages as well.
But does the love language also, which is a big thing, because see, mine was quality time. I grew up by people who worked all the time. It was not abnormal for me as a 9-year-old to sit at home with a 6 and a 3-year-old, and I'd be home for 12 hours. Like that was real. So people were always gone because they were providing and working. And it common sense, I understand that now, but then you wanted people to sit with you and be around you. So when I got around that and I got older, I was like, I like people to spend time. I like time. But I realized that, like he said about that words of affirmation, we were in a group chat with my homegirls and they was like, love you. Love y'all. And I'd be like, y'all double tap and heart the message. They be like, Heifer, I said. I'd be like, why y'all got to say that all the time? My friends had to make me say, you hate saying love you. You hate cuddling. I was like, well, don't touch me. And why we got to, I said, was you hungry? I brought you food.
Said, was you hungry?
It took my friends to be like, you need to say it. So I've learned to do better about it. The only time, truth be told, the only time I really would say it was around the time of my best friend's death anniversary came up. I would remind people, hey, I love you, because we never said it growing up. So I feel like she went, you knew it. We knew how we were, but I never said it. So I tell them now, when I think about losing her, I appreciate it. But I got friends who grew up with mamas that said, love you all the time. So they want to hear it from me. I had to grow up, and that was not easy. And so now I find myself saying it more, but I didn't grow up like that. I didn't grow up with the love you. I didn't grow up sitting in everybody's face around the TV talking all day. You get off work, you go in your room, you mind your business. So that's why quality time is big for me, because we didn't do that.
There's a lot of, and I remember when I first had my daughter, I had to like make myself say I love you. Like it had to become a conscious effort. Now it's like something I do, but had to be conscious. I was like, we didn't even grow up hugging.
Nope.
Like wasn't no hug. It was like, did you eat, that kind of thing. But all that affection and stuff. I remember when I first met my wife, when she would be on the phone with like her family, like for long periods of time, and she'd get off the phone and say I love you. I'm like, why y'all always talking about y'all love each other? I could not understand. I could not grasp that concept, and so I had to learn it. I mean, that's how we all are right now. We're trying to like self-explore and figure out why we are the way we are. But then when you communicate that to your mate, that becomes where the rubber meets the road. When you can communicate that to your mate, and then they can adjust, accordingly, because they understand what you need and what you desire. I think, a lot of people do take this test, but they don't do anything with it.
They don't do anything with it. I text my teenage daughter one day, because I was, having my epiphany, because I'm, when they with their dad, I'm home by myself. And I was like, let me just tell her love you. I text that child love you one day. The nigga say, what's wrong?
Exactly. I'd be like, what you want? What you want?
Get it together.
What you want?
Right.
But my youngest baby says it all the time. She's like, Mommy, I love you. And you say it to babies, but when they get bigger or your relationship, you run around and you're like, of course I love you. I'm here, ain't it? What? That don't mean nothing. Do you say it? Do you touch them? Do you find out what makes them feel loved and show it? If you're not, then they're not going to feel it, and you don't feel it. You become two people existing, and then you wonder why it feels like you living in your house with a business partner. You have to pay attention to that. And I don't think we grew up with parents and grandparents and people who are married to survive.
Yeah.
At this day and age, we are not sharecroppers. We are not waiting to make sure they don't put a cross in the yard. We of course we learn how to survive, but we're working on thriving now. Women are able to maintain on their own. I don't need you to maintain. You don't need me to maintain. We actually want each other. Now we got to like each other. Now you got to love me right. Now you got to be like, big boys know men do cry. Now you got to be like, no, she's angry for a reason. We have to pay attention to stuff that people didn't pay attention to.
Yeah, and this to your point though, it's like, because even when talking to some homeboys and stuff when they're going through it with their significant other, trying to win their girlfriend back, right? They start showering them with all these expensive gifts and doing all these things for them. I'm like, well, how the hell you know she even want that? Like you know, do you even understand what she really wants? Like, if
don't
exactly, but that's not
right.
Like, you can spend as much money as you want, but if she's not going to receive it the way you do.
I don't think we pay attention to a lot of stuff like we used to. Like, you'll look up and some guys will be like, well, I sent flowers, or I bought candy, or I bought gifts for this girl and she didn't appreciate, so I ain't never buying it for nobody else. Well, listen here, soldier.
She said, listen here, soldier.
That physical touch you like, ain't nobody gonna touch your little mean ass.
Well, so I think you bring up a point, though. That's why it's important to reinforce when your partner does something that you enjoy, right? So
that is true.
like I ain't gonna lie, like if I do something that's an active service, like, you know, say I hate dishes, right? I can't stand it. Like, it's my number one pet peeve to do a dish, but I know my wife like when I do the dishes. So if I do the dishes and you don't say nothing, I don't want to do the dishes no more. Right? I need my words of affirmation back that said, thank you for doing the dishes. I appreciate you did them dishes. And now I might go do it again. You see what I mean? So we gotta be.
We might have to agree to disagree on that one, because I'm not about to tell you thank you every time you do the dishes.
Well,
now.
I don't do it that often. So I don't do it that often. So if I do it, I need a little, you know.
Okay, 1, 2.
All
right.
I need to add a boy.
We do it with our children, and we be like, I ain't doing it for no grown man, but I'm in here singing pee-pee in the pot songs, and this nigga was supposed to
see that? I want my pee-pee in the pot.
Exactly.
I might have to start saying, good job with the dishes. Somebody gonna have to get a happy song.
But Trisha, look, what if I buy you a banging gift and your love language is gifts, and you don't say nothing, you don't even acknowledge it?
I get that, but okay, so now we talking about two different things, because also in a household now, if both parents are working, then it's now at the point where a lot of people kind of share duties. So when I'm talking about, you know, you helping with the laundry, yeah, those are things that I'm glad that you're helping with. But sometimes it becomes that it's more of I'm obligated because I'm the mom and the wife. And it just depends on what you do in your household. But, you know, I just think that we both work. And, you know, I appreciate when I don't have to ask you to do certain things and you just do it. So I definitely say, you know, I appreciate that and thank you. But I do feel like some of it is just running your household. And with the fact that, you know, I look at the fact that we have 4 kids, and it take everybody. It take every village, every mama, you know, to help us to do what we got to do. So, you know, that is something that we go back and forth about it, but I definitely tell him thank you, you know, when I notice that he does things that are outside of his normal comfort zone. So I get that. I do.
It can be little stuff. I think one of the most, I will never forget this. If Marquita ever watches, is my hairdresser, she'll know about it, because I've probably bitched about this for 3 years. One of the most insulting things was, one year she did my hair, and I sent the picture. And I was like, you know, she did the damn thing. And the response was, nice sweater. Motherfucker, wait a minute. Wait a minute. I felt like Ike Turner. Say good, Ike. I'm supposed to comb my hair. You're supposed to look decent. But it's an acknowledging of effort. And the sad thing is, we think you're a grown-up. I'm not about to baby you. You got to baby grown people, and it's not babying. I think we look at it wrong. It is a pat on the back. It is an acknowledgement of effort. I mean, yeah, you can get in front of the church and say, God, thank you for my wonderful husband. But if you go home and say, nigga, you're supposed to clean them dishes, and you don't feel the same way you felt at church when you stood up and everybody clap for him. You gotta clap for him when there's nobody around.
And
because I do. And I get that. To clap for you. We want it. Acknowledge that I did it. I'm not saying praise me like I'm Jesus, but I am saying acknowledge that I did something I did not have to do. Even though I did it, it's our house, it's our home. It's just, sometimes when you go older, you pick your battles. And if you need me to do a dance because she pee-peed in the pot and you wash the dishes, then goddamn it, Dory is.
And well, think about the routines we get stuck in, right? I mean, so everything becomes so routine that we don't even stop. And that's where I think people start to feel resentful because it's like
you feel unappreciated.
It's like, dang, I just do this stuff every single day and it becomes expected.
Yeah.
But really, you just want a little bit of acknowledgement. Like, for instance, think about it. People be like, think about it. A dude get a haircut, what the first thing he do? Right? He take a little selfie action, you know what I mean? He got the Fresh Cut Friday going, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we do.
All he wants is a little light, you know what I mean? Here, a little something, just like you wanted your hair done, right? So it doesn't make him like, something wrong with him, for that. It's just, what if he go home and his wife don't say nothing about the haircut? What happened with you?
Let me tell you about how we act when you come home with a haircut. If you walk in the house and we don't say nothing, whatever. If we give you that, well, where the hell you going?
Yeah, exactly. I need to hear where the hell you going.
Who the hell you? So you can put on gray sweatpants too? I mean, you want to go all
Oh no.
Oh yeah.
I actually like the way the hell you think you're going. I love it. You know what I mean? that tells me a lot without saying a whole lot. You know what I mean? And I think
spraying my cologne too.
Right, exactly. And I think that especially we as Black people, we raised to be so tough and be so strong and not show emotion. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with that. Especially, I'm only speaking for the men. Like, we've been taught so long to suppress our emotion, so now it's like we really want to hear the stuff, but like we don't want to bring it up because we don't want to seem soft. We don't want to seem like we need to be coddled. Like, I need to hear that shit. You know what I mean? And that's why I'm glad we're having this conversation now, primarily because like, you don't have to, I'm not saying you gotta, blow, gas me up like you were trying to gas Trish up earlier. So we. So I ain't saying you got to gas me up nothing, but I do.
Well, first of all,
I do need to hear those words.
I was sitting in my house looking like, who in the hell left the gate open? And then Trees came in looking like, girl, who?
I know, right?
And I was like, well,
there you go.
Let me see.
And that's okay. We can do that. Right. I appreciate you, sister.
Thank you. She came on.
I do want to ask y'all though. So, is it possible? Is it possible for a couple with different love languages to succeed? Is it possible for their relationship to succeed?
Definitely. I mean, me and my husband have different love languages, but I think it's about having that conversation and understanding what the love languages are, and that you need to understand that I'm not you and you're not me. So, what do you need from me? And what do I need from you? And I think if y'all get on the same page about that, you're fine. Like I said, I know that holding his hand and rubbing his back, those are small things, but that's what he needs. And I might not need that, but I know that. So I'm going to do that. I think, being married is definitely a selfless act, because I think it's hard for somebody that's very selfish to cultivate a good marriage. Because it's some days when it's something that you don't want to do, but there's a lot of compromising. There's a lot of understanding, communication. And if you're just a selfish person, it's going to be hard to maintain. It's always going to be some resentment, because you'll end up with a mate that's basically letting you run over them, because they just don't want to argue. They don't want to start no fights. They're just going to do whatever you want them to do. And I mean, that's not a healthy relationship. So I definitely think they can survive.
I think one of the biggest mistakes I made in my past situation was I never acknowledged you got to love someone enough to speak their love language to them. And many times people get married young for different reasons. I'm married because we got kids. I'm married because my mama said, you pull your pants up and you went to school and you should be who I'm with. If you don't love someone enough to want to speak their love language to them, because you need them to know, hey, I love you and I need you to know that. So whatever it takes to make you know that, I'm going to do it. You're not gonna, I don't care what language they speak or you speak, it's not going to work, because you're gonna have two selfish people. I'm here, ain't it? You be glad I'm here. Be thankful. Don't nobody got to see you.
Right.
Don't nobody have to be with you. Don't nobody owe you a lifetime. Don't nobody owe you nothing. And I think that's the mistake we get. Be glad I'm here. No, you be glad you here.
Exactly.
And that's where we got it messed up at. I think that we have to stop listening to what older people did to survive and realize there are different morals and different battles and different things. Some of the same values. You still got to be able to fight through it, but you better get in it with the right reasons. You got to want to be there. You got to want to be with this person. If you don't, you're not going to care to speak their language, and it's going to show.
Absolutely, it is. And you know, one of the biggest deaths to all of this is when people say stuff like, well, I just am who I am, right? So those statements, if you're going to be married and actually implement this love language piece, just because you're not affectionate, if the person needs physical touch, then you need to be able to pivot,
to provide it,
right? But if you just say, I am who I am, so you know you're gonna get it, take it or leave it, then you're not really ready to be married, right? Because you got to shift some stuff.
But see, we don't realize that. I've always said, I had a situation where I used to get disrespected, and I would say, you don't disrespect the other females in your family. You choose to do this here. And then I watch us as people who say, I am who I am. I'm not running around here doing this and the third. But then your baby bring you this little picture that you can't identify who the hell is in it. And you go, oh my God, this is amazing. So you're capable of putting on. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Your child walk down the aisle looking like a hot mess and you'll smile for days. But your mate come down the aisle and you act like your teeth broke. You can't do that. We're going to have to, that same put on we do for them kids, make them kids feel good. Because you love your child and you want your child to know that you love them and you're proud of them. And that was something that age and mistakes have had to teach me. I have to treat who I'm with, regardless of what the relationship is, child, spouse, friend. I'm going to have to show you I care, because you don't know unless I show it.
Absolutely. And Chris, to your point, Chris, because you said that we need to stop listening to older folks because that may have worked for them. Not just older folks, but we also need to stop listening to our friends and airing our dirty laundry to our friends, because they're obviously, we may be friends, but our love language are they're inherently different, you know. So what may work for you, because I've been in relationships in the past where, you know, and one thing that I don't do anymore that I did when I was younger is for a few relationships, like, I'm a communicator. Like, you're not gonna have to guess what I'm thinking because I'm gonna tell you.
We know.
But I've dated non-communicators before, and what happens is when you don't communicate with your significant other, you find other outlets to communicate with. So then I would go to friends and family, and you know, just talk about, you know, because I needed to get it off my chest, and they, you know, say kind of like what y'all was saying earlier, well, you know, she's still there, so she still want to be with you. I'm like, nah, fuck that. Like, I need more than that. I don't need you to just be there. You know, I need you to show me something. I need you to tell me something. So you have to be careful who you seek advice from. And that's now, nobody knows what me and my fiance have going on, because I'm not divulging that. I'm not talking about what we have going on. We're going to figure that shit out.
Because you have to write your own love story. So the stories we heard, like Hallmark, you shake a globe and bow, you move back from the big city and get to the diner and he's still waiting for you 20 years later. Bullshit. Write your own love story. It does not look like that. Everybody's story is different. There is, sometimes you might be the football player with a cheerleader. Sometimes it might be the homeboy from back in the day. Sometimes it could be the coworker. Sometimes it could be the stranger in Walmart. Sometimes it could be the DM. You don't know. But like you said, your friend be like, child, I wouldn't talk to nobody in my DM. Now you done miss your damn husband because you probably
miss your blessing.
Blessing gone.
So you do have to be okay with writing your own story. That's a life lesson as we get older or wiser. Sometimes because you're old, you ain't wise. Free game. You have to think different, and we don't a lot.
So what if your partner refuses to either learn or cater to your love language? How does that impact the relationship?
Hotel, motel, holiday inn.
Oh Lord! I mean, to me, it's back to Trisha's point though. It's a sign of selfishness, right? And I don't know any relationships that thrive out with two selfish people. I don't know one that survive. I mean, I know ones that survive, but not ones that thrive where people are actually happy.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you got a bunch of unhealthy relationships where people mad at each other all the time. Right. They always salty and mad. but that's because they're being selfish. They're being so selfish and so prideful. And the other word is stubborn, right? I always say, stubborn ain't sexy, right? It's a protective mechanism that we tend to use, but it's not sexy. It's not something that brings you closer to someone. So I'm with Hook. I think if you're not willing to shift, especially during different seasons of life, then you're not ready for marriage. Like, let's just be honest. You're just ready for the season where the person is exactly who you want them to be, and then when they shift, you can't handle it.
Gotta be willing to change. That was the talk we had earlier today. People change. If I want this job, my ass is going to change because I want it. If you want that person, you're going to change. You got to come out of your ways. If you say, well, I am who I am, well, then you can be by yourself, because one thing is that we don't understand. People don't have to stay with you. I don't care how many kids you have. I don't care how many years you have. People don't have to stay. And that's one thing, like you said, people who survive but don't thrive. You're not obligated to stay someplace that's unhealthy, unhappy, or not right. But that's what Hook was saying. You ain't got to listen to everybody either. People telling you to do something that's killing you. Let it go.
And I was going to say, the other thing is, I will say, I find a lot of people don't want to have tough conversations. No. So a lot of times they haven't effectively communicated how they feel. Yes. So if I'm your spouse and you're surface with me all the time, the things that you're giving me that are surface, I'm thinking I'm doing that. But you're never having the in-depth conversation that's going to be uncomfortable. But at least you can say they knew exactly how I felt about it. So, I mean, to your point, Hook, you said, well, what if your spouse doesn't want to cater to your love language? Well, if you haven't been honest with them and you can really say that you haven't had the conversation and been totally upfront, then you're doing them a disservice, because you're not equipping them with all the information.
I agree.
And then they're not equipped with everything they need to know to be able to put that, to change. So, I just tell, I got girlfriends and I'm like, well, did you have a conversation? Well, I don't even want to do that because I don't want to start no argument and all that. Well, I'm like, well, how is that person supposed to adapt or change if they don't know? So, I mean, if you have a comfort level that you had that conversation and you didn't see the change and you had it again, because I mean, just like you said, Chris, earlier with kids, we have that conversation over and over again. You give them a lot of chances, but when you feel comfortable enough that this is just that person and they're too selfish, then that's when you have a different discussion. But I think until you have really laid your heart on the line and been vulnerable and let them know what you need and been really honest with them, then you're not really standing in your truth with that person.
Hey,
we don't like to understand that I'd rather grieve the truth than live a lie. We don't like to have those conversations that we feel may hurt somebody's feelings, but in the long run, you hurt when you don't be honest with them. If I need to get in work, and if I was able to take this phone call, and if I was just opening up to these people and being nicer to them, I could keep my job. But instead, you let me keep messing up until one day you fire me. Well, why the hell you ain't tell me? All I had to say was,
and I work in HR, so I make sure that they know.
It's documented.
The documentation.
But that's why they have a performance improvement plan. That's why they have plans.
You're right.
They bring you in. They say, "Hey, this is your issue. How can we get over this?" So they give you, they give you a verbal warning. They give you a written warning. They give you a second written warning. They give you a final written warning. And then you get the boost. So their levels, you get chances. Relationships are no different.
You put them on a pip. That pip, yeah.
What I'll say, Trisha, I was gonna say, like 90% of my clients that come to me, they come to me complaining about their mate or whoever it is, and I ask one question: Have you told them that? And I promise you, 90% of them haven't. Right? And
I don't want to start an argument.
I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. Here's the other key, though. I think one thing we aren't taught, and it's still part of love language, is like we aren't taught how to effectively communicate. So a lot of people think they've effectively communicated because they complain, right? Or they think they've done themselves. They've given that performance improvement plan. They really haven't. You know what I mean? They just got an attitude about something one day and was like, well, I told you so and so and so. Something that's pretty controversial. People probably find controversial, but a lot of times, if you look at some data, after like post infidelity, you'll see some relationships thrive better. A lot of times, because in those moments, that's when people are the most vulnerable and they're actually willing to communicate how they really feel because they're about to lose someone, right?
The lost part.
The lost part. So they're willing to open up.
You go into survival mode. Then you tell everything. No, I've loved you for all my life, and you've always been great in the whole wide world. To whittle to wait, you silly wabbit. It's don't go that way.
And you talked about, Troy, you mentioned effective communications. For some people, effectively communicating is yelling to the point where they only hear themselves. Like in most conversations, everybody. The thing is, everybody want to think that they're right. Like few people want to hold themselves accountable, and I know that that's one area that I've grown in, because now when I have a conversation with anybody, it can be my 11-year-old girls. It's like I genuinely listen to what they're saying, not how they're saying it or whatever. I listen to what they're saying and I process that, and then sometimes I sit back and I'm like, you know what? I was fucked up.
Yeah.
I could have handled that differently, but it takes a big person to do that. And some people think that I have a lot of friends or whatever, like their idea of communication is really talking louder than the other person because they only want to hear their opinions. They really don't want to listen to what everybody else got to say. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like one big Facebook argument, right? Where all people want to do is get their point out.
Of that.
Right.
Yeah.
That is true. It's hard to realize or pay attention to. It's hard to call yourself out on your own shit.
Yeah.
No, it ain't hard. We just don't do it.
Well, it's not that easy because sometimes we don't know you don't know you're the problem. Sometimes you don't.
Your friends told you was right.
You're right.
Right. You got a bunch of yes.
You don't know. So you're wanting people to be like, well, just don't do it. Well, I don't know nothing else to do. But that's where those hard conversations come in at. If I walk around and you ready to leave me because I don't say I love you enough, then so did you talk to me and find out that I grew up in a family that didn't say that?
Yeah.
And did you tell me, hey, I know you think asking me, am I hungry is I love you, but nigga, I'm supposed to eat. So that's not love you to me. Love you to me is, hey, good morning. Love you. Hope you have an amazing day. Oh, okay. Well, I got a problem. Now we 20 years into a marriage and you like, yeah, I don't like it because she don't never say love you. You could tell me this 10 years ago.
Yeah.
You really do have to have those conversations and you got to be able to check yourself.
Yeah.
And Troy made a good point too, because it's a lot of people that are surrounded by co-signers and they co-signing the wrong thing. Right. Because if you don't surround yourself with people that are sane and that can think and process, if you're surrounded by a lot of people that ain't stable, and you might not even realize it, but there's some people out here that's giving some really, really bad advice. And so,
absolutely.
That's another thing. You're going to the wrong people to get an understanding for how you should deal with your mate. Or, it's okay to seek advice, but you just need to make sure that you're seeking it from the right people, because it's a lot of people on Facebook that's constantly co-signing foolery. And I'm sitting here like, why is all these people liking this status? Like, I'm so confused.
You're like, really?
I'm send a message to Hook and be like, what's going on?
But the people that have the most to say about relationships, though, are the people who ain't got nobody. You know what I mean? So either they ain't got nobody, or again, not because we've all been there. Certainly not knocking that. But I'm saying, how can you, like me personally, I can't take advice from you if you in between relationships or if you are going through, marital problems or whatever the case is. And to Trisha's point, you must be reading my mind or something, because it's like, and this is free game for everybody. Get you a friend. Tell you what you need to hear.
They got good sense.
You want to hear. There are too many yes men here. They either don't want their friend to be mad with them, they're toxic themselves, so they're going to enable the foolery. Nah, because I have a group of friends. I know if I know, if I want to hear the truth, I know who I'm gonna call. I'm like, hey man, I'm gonna run this by you. Tell me if I'm fucked up, and he can be like, yeah, you fucked up.
Yeah.
You know,
but it's also the thing of I don't believe that you have to pick and choose. So I say this: a bum on the street can teach you how to be wise with money. A homeless man can teach you how to keep your home. The problem comes in where you have people. So I teach my daughter this. It's people in class who laugh with you and be like, nah, I ain't did my work, but they turn that shit in the beginning of the school year. Now your dumb ass and some people and these niggas at home. The reality is, it's people telling you, yeah, nah, hell no, I give me 4 girlfriends. I cheat on this. Yeah, your little faithful ass just sent flowers to her job. And you out here doing this behind closed doors. It's people who will tell you what you should do and they not doing it. So be careful with people who gas you up because they ain't got good sense. But they not doing what they're telling you to do. Oh, it couldn't be me. I'd leave. You ain't left that nigga 36 years. Shut up.
Exactly. And Facebook is not a counselor. That's the other thing. Facebook is one of those things now that people run to because they know that they can get a large amount of people, but it's a lot of people co-signing on foolery. So I'm like, social media is not going to be your partner, your accountability partner, or your, that's not where you need to go to be getting advice. Have you a friend that the proof is in the pudding? Because how am I going to ask you about, how can I get a job? How can I sustain a job when I'm talking to somebody that barely keeps employment? So, let's have common sense about the people that we also rely on, because again, we talk about, well, how do people know my business? Talking to the wrong person, because it's people that's out there sharing your information and basically laughing at you. And you're thinking that, that's somebody that your friend and all that. But I mean, you just got to have better common sense than that.
If you want to know how outsiders know your business, check your insiders.
Exactly.
So here's the thing I learned too. It's like
nobody knew Chad was business.
Look, what I found is most people looking for confirmation. They're not really looking for advice, right? Yeah, they just want someone to confirm what they want to believe to be true. Because y'all haven't seen a friend who will call 5 different people and 4 of them tell them that they wrong, but they only go with the advice of the one
that said what they want them to say.
They wasn't looking for real advice. They were looking for confirmation.
Exactly.
Most of us seek that though. We just want to make sure that what we want to do, if we just need one person, one co-signer, and we'll run with it. But at the end of the day, it's not like he said, the biggest issue you got to give up is not, am I right? Is this going to work? Is this what we need? Is this for this? That's why I say people change, because somebody might look and say, well, hell, she wasn't like that 20 years ago. Well, nigga, I wasn't 36 20 years ago either. Life will teach you some stuff. You'll grow older. You hit your head enough times to realize that was hard. People have to learn their lessons. If life ain't teaching you nothing, then you're not living. You bullshitting. And you have to learn to do better. You have to learn to make your own decisions. You can't follow up your friends. Our parents taught us, if everybody jump off a bridge, you jump into, probably because I don't want to stay here by myself. But
because I need my quality time.
No, sometimes I don't want to do that. But you do have to learn to stand on your own and make your own decisions. Because at the end of the day, nobody's in that room with you at night. Nobody's at home with you by yourself when you're going through it at night. And you really have to realize that whatever decision you make, you are going to be the one to have to live with it. So watch who you listen to, because your friends might tell you, well, this person, I wouldn't be with them. Yeah, but your ass is going to cuddle tonight, and I really love this person. So I need to figure out how to make this work in a healthy way so that this will work out, because y'all will be like, well, good, I'm glad you left him. Okay, good, because I was rocking and crying for 3 days because I didn't mind that he didn't put his shoes by the door. You got to figure out what works for you. Now, I'm not never telling anyone stay in something that's abusive, that's dangerous, that's life-threatening, that's mentally abusive, nothing like that. What I am saying is quit seeking validation for what makes you happy if it's healthy.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing there, because I know when people call me for advice, and I don't give advice like that. But the first thing I do is I listen, and I don't give it unless they ask for it. So if they say, hey, what do you think I should do? And honestly, if I think that there's some behavior, and these are people I know, So I already know that, you ain't
them.
So, yeah, you did something. There's a catalyst there somewhere. So, but again, this has been great dialogue, guys, and we still got like 10 minutes left, and I want to hear from you guys individually. So, like, what are some takeaways you have for the viewers? Like, what are some lasting things you want to leave them with? And go ahead and and Trisha, ladies first. We'll go ahead and start with you.
Who got nails today? Go ahead.
I see. I would say that, one of the most important things is understanding what your love language is. If you don't learn anything, I think you and your spouse need to go and actually take the quiz. You can read the book together, but I think definitely taking the quiz is going to get you on the path to kind of understanding what both of you need, and how to show love to the other one. And I think stepping outside of yourself and not being selfish and understanding just because you don't need to be loved that way, that you can, pivot, like Troy said, that's a good word, and you can love your spouse in the way that they need to be loved. And I'm speaking from 11 years of marriage, definitely not claiming that it's perfect, but I would definitely say that we've grown together and we have learned how to communicate better. And I understand what his love language is, and he understands mine. And I think both of us try to love each other in the way that we need. And I think, not always going to other people and trying to get co-signers, but having those tough conversations and working through them is what's going to really help you sustain. So I would say, put your big boy panties on, pants on, underwear, whatever, boxers, and, work it out, have those conversations, and don't do it in the heat of an argument. I think, you guys need to say, well, let's have a performance review for both of us. And let's
men like jobs.
Let's talk through the things that we both feel that each one of us need to work on. And it's not in the heat of an argument where everybody's already at their height of, anger, but it's really having a very good, back and forth dialogue about how can we progress our relationship and move forward. So I think, just think about using some of those things to help you better your situation in your relationship.
Absolutely. That girl's spitting, boy.
Hey, bow.
So a few takeaways for me. I think number one is being able to understand and identify seasons of relationships, right? I think the honeymoon stage is the stage where everybody's happy. So you don't even have to really pay attention that much to love languages, right? Because everybody's running off fumes, right? They're running off what you call adrenaline, things like that. But once you settle into a relationship and you build a life with someone, then you have to be willing to pivot. Like I said, you got to be willing to shift, to change during the seasons, to survive the seasons, and to check in, right? Too often we don't check in our relationships because we get so busy in our routines. So let's make sure we're checking in. Let's make sure we're willing to shift. Let's stop being stubborn, right? Stop using words like "I am who I am" and phrases like "I am who I am," and let's stop saying stuff like "take it or leave it," right? Take me or leave me. No, take me. Allow me to adjust as we grow together. I mean, that's the mindset we got to have in our relationships if we want to survive. Now, I think the last thing I would say is this: as we identify love languages, understand that it's not about the big things. It's really about the small ones, right? So it's not about the $100,000 gift. It's about the handwritten note, right?
Right.
It's not about like having a threesome, right? It's about touching my hand when we're sitting on the couch together, right?
Right.
It's those things. So don't make them too big. Make them small and do the right thing and love each other.
Absolutely. Yeah. Again, great commentary, man. That was phenomenal from both of you guys. So, Chris, I understand we have a giveaway.
Listen. First of all, don't go out there putting y'all booze on pips. You're gonna mess around and Troy gonna be up there. Troy gonna be in there booed up. Tree's gonna be in there talking about them 4 babies, and y'all ass gonna be single.
Don't do the
I
pips,
got a template you can use.
You know Trisha got one.
Find out what works with y'all man. Don't go out there putting nobody on the pip. They already.
They got an app. They got an app for it, I'm sure.
Right.
However, like Troy said, he is a relationship coach, but he is also an author, and he did talk about the book that he wrote. So today what we decided to do was it was funny because we wanted to do a like, share, tag, but like Troy got 10,000 friends, I got 1,000, my 1,000 friends are in his 10,000, so they like, we already got the book. So today, for the two persons who commented during our live the most, I need you to DM me your information, and we are going to send you a free copy of Troy's book. One thing we do believe in is we believe in supporting our people, and we definitely we believe in creating healthy environments, from love to life to money to sex to the whole 9 yards. We can't talk about teaching you how to love if we got the tools to learn how to do it and we're not sharing it. Troy, I got the book already, right? Because I'm gonna get it right this time. I'm telling you. However, I'm gonna put somebody else on game. So yes, ma'am. Ms. Johnson, you are one, and Mr. Brown, you are another. So please, please, please inbox me. You know what? Mace, what is that? My first name? Marnique Mason. You DM me too, and we'll go ahead and include it. We'll do it. Because one thing we want to do is, if we are going to create, I always say I want a Black Wall Street everywhere, but we're going to be healthy in this thing. We're going to be walking around here, and we're going to be happy, and we're going to speak love languages, and we're not going to put boo on pips. Hey! Look at Hook. That's why you over there with a
you got the copy. Hey, I love it. Hey, thank you for getting the copy, brother.
Gospel, man. This is gospel.
Hey, I appreciate that, man.
Yes, sir.
You all DM me, please, your addresses so that I can go ahead and get that out to you. Troy, we appreciate that you listened to the spirit and put that out and created a way for all of us to read and listen to a non-biased, healthy information to create not perfect, but healthy relationships so that we can thrive, not just survive. So I'm team, let's go, let's get it, let's live, let's love, and let's do it right.
Absolutely. And speaking of which, Chris, what do we have on tap for next week?
So since we're going to be loving and living right, before you put on a pip, check your hip size, right? Check me out. Quarantine thick is cute, but I think we're about to go back in this world and some of us can't fit our work clothes, right? Right.
I can't fit mine.
Listen, I bought different ones. Mine's are stretchy. So what we're going to do is next week, we are going to have people on that are going to talk about health and fitness. I have Sierra, who is one of my friends from high school that has her own fitness business. She has workout clothes and different things that she does, but she gives fitness advice and health and wellness advice on a regular. And then another classmate of mine, Aries Curry, who also gives a lot of health and wellness advice and ran track and did a lot of great things. So both of them are going to come on next Monday and really talk about health and fitness and being healthy in the Black community. Thick is cute. I love it. I ain't shaking it, but I still want to be healthy as happy. And you got to have those conversations, because some of our stuff is not genetics, it's habits. Some of it is the way we eat, some of it's the way we live, some of it's the things we do. Stress is not healthy. So they're going to come on and talk to us about things we can do to become more healthy, to get more in shape. We don't have to go out here and spend these money and get all these collections from all these gyms that we don't go to. There's other ways.
$20 a month.
Right. Now you out there telling them, I don't care, put it in collections. Don't do that. Don't. So they're going to come on and give us in the happy and healthy. And again, for the person that comments the most, Sierra does have a business, and we will be doing a giveaway for one of the outfits or the equipment pieces that she offers. So it pays to view and to comment, because we definitely will be giving away some merchandise from her site as well.
Cool. Absolutely. And again, this was a phenomenal conversation, man. We really appreciate you guys for joining. Troy, thank you as always. I know this is your second time here. Love the book. And I'm going to make sure that I post the link on my page as well. So anybody who wants to buy Troy's book, I'll make sure that just come to my page. I'll make sure that link is posted. Tricia, my dog, good seeing you again.
He always do that. Troy, my dog, good seeing
Hey, me and people go way back, man.
And Teresa, you my dog, because I'm the one that told you, Shawty look good today.
That's right.
Hey, but this has been a phenomenal conversation. It's something that we need to have more of, more dialogue. And we're going to continue bringing this content to you guys. Make sure you check out Troy's book. Make sure you share. Make sure you subscribe to the material and share it with your friends as well so they can watch. And we plan on, obviously, we're going to be back again next week. So make sure you join us again. So until next week.
Next Monday. See you soon.
Holla.
Night.
Night.
Hook, I got to get their stuff. So if you get them to DM you or